March 2021. The whole world held its breath in front of television screens. Oprah Winfrey sat opposite Meghan Markle in a garden in Montecito. It was the biggest media event of the decade. Oprah nodded, empathized, asking questions that brought millions to tears. But now, in the halls of Hollywood's most powerful, Meghan Markle's name has vanished from every guest list. Oprah, the only launchpad that propelled Meghan to the peak of fame, is now keeping a freezing silence. Why did the media queen, the one capable of reading minds, turn her back on the person she once wholeheartedly protected? Is this a personal rift or a strategic move for Oprah to save the credibility of her own empire? May 19th, 2018, Windsor Castle. Early summer sunlight shone through the stained glass windows of St. George's Chapel. The air was thick with the scent of white peonies and expensive perfume. Oprah Winfrey walked in. She wore a pale pink Stella McCartney dress, donning a temps-sur-temps wide-brimmed hat. She did not sit in the far back rows. She was seated right in the choir area, right next to the most core members of the British royal family. Surrounding her were Queen Elizabeth, Prince Charles and Prince William. Oprah's presence that day was not that of an ordinary guest. It was a message. For the first time, the supreme power of Hollywood was invited to sit on equal footing with the oldest power in Europe. On the surface, it was a fairy tale wedding, but inside the palace, cracks had already begun. A few days prior, Meghan had requested air-freshening perfume to be sprayed throughout the ancient chapel because she complained about the musty smell. This request was flatly rejected by the royal family. Fast forward to March 2021. The location shifted to a sun-drenched garden in Montecito, California. Oprah sat opposite Meghan on two rattan chairs. She nodded, frowned, expressing utmost empathy as Meghan recounted the traumas inside the palace. Two timelines, two contexts. From the status of an honorary guest in Britain, Oprah had become the one handing Meghan a life preserver in America. Everything looked like a solid transcontinental friendship. But no one knew that very Montecito garden was the place where the seeds of an irredeemable breakdown were sown. To understand why Oprah's turning her back was destructive in nature, you must understand how the industry of trust operates in Hollywood. Oprah's power does not lie in the amount of money she has in the bank. Her power lies in validation. Imagine Oprah Winfrey as a central bank. A central bank does not print goods, they print money and stamp the national seal on it for the paper to become valuable. Similarly, Oprah prints credibility. When an individual is entangled in a scandal, if they are allowed to sit on Oprah's sofa, to have her shed tears with them, that person is immediately forgiven by the public. Millions of American viewers do not go investigating the truth themselves. They look at Oprah's facial expressions. If Oprah believes you, the world will believe you. Her empathy is precisely the most expensive currency in America. When Meghan and Harry tore themselves away from the British royal family, they brought along a massive wave of criticism from the British media. They were empty-handed in terms of credibility in their new playground. The 2021 interview was not merely an on-air session to confide feelings. It was a transaction transferring credibility. Oprah took her flawlessly built 40-year reputation as collateral to underwrite Meghan's story. She became the bulletproof armor for the Sussex couple in front of the American public. As long as Oprah was still standing there, major newspapers in America would hesitate before writing attacking articles. This mechanism forced Meghan to be absolutely honest with the one who underwrote her. Because once the central bank discovers you used fake documents to borrow trust, they don't just recall the loan. They will freeze all your accounts across the entire system. Outwardly, the shocking interview brought record ratings. But behind the closed doors of the Harpo production company, 3 specific actions silently took place, severing every connecting string between the two women. The first action took place in late March 2021, just weeks after the interview aired. At the headquarters of Harpo Productions in West Hollywood, Oprah's legal and fact-checking team had to hold an emergency meeting. On national television, Meghan had resolutely looked straight into Oprah's eyes and said that she and Harry had secretly married 3 days prior, officiated by the Archbishop of Canterbury himself. But right after, the Archbishop himself publicly spoke out to refute this information, affirming the only legal wedding took place on May 19th. Oprah's team frantically handled the crisis covertly. For the first time, Oprah realized she had been used as a tool to spread blatantly false information. She directly called Meghan's representatives, demanding an explanation, but only received roundabout answers. The second action occurred in early October 2022. Meghan was seeking a launchpad for her podcast project and new lifestyle brand. She sent a detailed project pitch to the desk of an executive at a television network managed by Oprah. They began planning a meeting. But exactly 48 hours later, an Oprah producer serendipitously had lunch at the Ivy restaurant in Beverly Hills and discovered a bitter truth. Meghan's representatives had taken that exact project pitch to hawk to other rival networks like Spotify and Netflix without notifying Oprah's side a single word. In Hollywood, the act of backroom dealing behind a mentor's back is the ultimate taboo. It smashes the most basic principle of loyalty. The third action, the coldest and most decisive, took place in August 2023. Oprah hosted a large-scale charity gala to raise funds for the Maui wildfires. The guest list was finalized 2 months in advance. The most powerful names in the entertainment industry were all present. Oprah's chief assistant brought the list for her final approval. Oprah took a pen, decisively drawing a line through the names of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. There was no explaining email. There was no notifying call. The invitation letter simply never reached the mansion in Montecito. That was when Oprah's door of power officially slammed shut in Meghan's face. The audience might not pay attention to the guest lists of private parties, but there is a detail evident right on national television exposing this entire rift. That is the sudden disappearance of Gayle King. Gayle King is not only a powerful anchor for the CBS network, she is also the best friend, the one sharing every secret with Oprah for over 40 years. Gayle operates as Oprah's covert megaphone. Right after the 2021 interview, it was Gayle King who went live on the morning broadcast, revealing that the reconciliation calls between Harry and William were unfruitful. She publicly spoke out to protect Meghan against the spearheads of public opinion. Everyone implicitly understood Gayle speaking means Oprah is speaking. But stepping into 2023, as Meghan continuously launched new projects, got entangled in the scandal of being dropped by Spotify, and faced a series of articles exposing her work attitude, Gayle King was absolutely silent. She did not mention the name Meghan Markle a single time on the morning news. She did not post any words of defense on social media. At Gayle King's level, silence is never random. It is a clear directive. The fact that Oprah's closest megaphone suddenly went mute signaled that the protective network had been completely withdrawn. What core event broke the endurance limit of someone specializing in seeking the truth like Oprah, forcing her to sever ties with the person she once put her own honor on the line to vouch for? Oprah Winfrey wanted to protect her greatest asset. That asset is not the $3 billion in her personal bank accounts. It is also not the real estate spanning from California to Hawaii. Oprah's core asset is the absolute trust of the American public. Throughout 40 years in television, Oprah has established a life-or-death principle. Guests can cry, guests can break down, but guests are not permitted to lie on her sofa. Honesty is the only currency circulated in the Harpo Productions empire. When Oprah cries with someone on national television, tens of millions of Americans automatically forgive that person. She plays the role of a Supreme Court of the public. The first action proving the protection of this credibility lies in the preparation phase for the 2021 interview. Oprah does not work for free. nor does she work carelessly. Her Harpo Productions company negotiated the sale of the broadcasting rights for this interview to the CBS network for about $7 to $9 million. To ensure quality for this massive deal, Oprah personally approved every topic. She committed to the audience that no questions were off limits. Everything would be exposed nakedly. Her fact-checking team worked grueling hours to review timelines, ensuring that every accusation made was grounded. Oprah bet her entire honor on the premise that Meghan would provide undeniable truths. The second action shows the media queen's meticulousness even more clearly. During the recording process, Oprah continuously used confirming questions. When Meghan made a heavy accusation, Oprah would pause, widen her eyes, and ask back, "You are saying that? Do you mean?" This is not cheap dramatic expression. This is a professional journalistic technique. Oprah was forcing Meghan to nail herself to her own statements. She wanted the audience to see that she was extracting the truth, not feeding words to the guest. The deep reason behind this extreme caution is the fear of losing her orienting power. Oprah understands she has the power to elevate a politician to the presidency or push an unknown book to the top of the world's bestseller list. That power comes from the audience believing Oprah is never fooled. If the public discovered she was bypassed by a guest, using her as a tool to spread fake news, the entire foundation of the media empire named Oprah Winfrey would collapse. Meghan Markle wanted to rewrite her entire personal history to serve a colossal business plan. She stepped out of the Windsor Castle gates not just with an application resigning from royal duties. She brought along a security expense bill reaching up to $3 million a year and a lavish lifestyle needing to be maintained in California. To sell film and podcast production contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars in the American market, she needed a perfect origin story. She could not appear in the capacity of a former actress complaining about her husband's family. She had to become a survivor. She had to shape herself as the victim of a suffocating, discriminatory, and ruthless system. The first action proving this craving to manipulate the story was Meghan choosing Oprah as the messenger. She did not hold a press conference. She did not answer a fashion magazine. Meghan knew clearly the weight of Oprah's sofa. She carefully prepared every detail for the on-air session. The heavy eye makeup emulated the image of Princess Diana in the 1995 Panorama interview. The black dress with a white lotus motif draped across the shoulder symbolized rebirth. Meghan brought to the program sensational but extremely hard-to-verify stories. She unleashed details about closed-door conversations behind palace doors. She turned ordinary family disagreements into systemic accusations. The second action took place right after the interview ended. Meghan did not waste a single minute of the American public's sympathy. Leveraging the massive wave of support generated by Oprah, her legal and management team immediately expedited locking down commercial deals. The milestone of signing a tens of millions of dollars contract with Spotify to produce the Archetypes podcast was accelerated. The exclusive content development deal with Netflix was announced. Meghan used Oprah's very validation as a passport to enter the boardrooms of the world's largest entertainment conglomerates, pricing her pain into lucrative checks. The core conflict arose from the difference in the nature of work of the two women. Oprah needed the truth to maintain credibility. Meghan needed a dramatized version of the truth to sell media contracts. Meghan was willing to bend details, embellish romanticized plot points to build the image of a perfect victim. She placed commercial interests and the craving to retaliate against the royal family above the safety and credibility of the one who had stood up to underwrite her. Meghan's perfect script crashed into the cliff of truth in late March 2021. On national television, Meghan looked straight at Oprah and told a highly emotional story. She asserted that 3 days before the lavish royal wedding, worth tens of millions of dollars, she and Harry had called the Archbishop of Canterbury. They had a secret wedding in the backyard, just the three of them together. No millions of television viewers, no rigid rules. That was their true wedding. Oprah sat there, reacting with astonishment, completely believing in this romantic detail. Television audiences shed tears at the couple's simplicity. But exactly 2 weeks later, a bucket of freezing water splashed straight into the Harpo Productions office. An official document was issued from London. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, the supreme leader of the Church of England, personally spoke out. His declaration was razor-sharp and left no room for ambiguity. He affirmed the only legal wedding took place on May 19th at St. George's Chapel. He emphasized that if he had signed a fake marriage registration paper 3 days prior, as Meghan recounted, he would have committed a serious criminal offence according to British law. This declaration exposed Meghan's backyard wedding story as merely a formal personal vow exchange session, completely devoid of any legal validity. The incident blew up right on the newspaper pages. Oprah's production team immediately reviewed the recorded tape. They realized Meghan had deliberately used misleading wording. She used the phrase, "We got married," to create a tragic scene, aiming to prove that the royal family forced her to act out a play on the official wedding day. Oprah called, demanding representatives of the Archwell Foundation explain. She demanded to see the secret marriage certificate Meghan had mentioned. There was absolutely no paper at all. Meghan's team began to justify it, calling it a misunderstanding of American concepts when using wording. The atmosphere during the phone call froze. Oprah realized she had just been pushed into an offside position. For the first time in her career, she was forced into complicity in spreading a colossal piece of misinformation right on the very program bearing her name. In the most powerful world of Hollywood, you can be a difficult person, you can be someone demanding unreasonable privileges, but you are absolutely not permitted to deceive the one who has put their honor on the line to underwrite you. The moment the Archbishop of Canterbury spoke out, Oprah realized the cruel truth. Meghan Markle did not view Oprah as a respectable mentor or a soulmate friend at all. Meghan only viewed Oprah Winfrey as an information amplification tool, a media springboard to activate cash flow from entertainment conglomerates. The feeling of being weaponized touched the deepest self-esteem of the media queen. Oprah made a ruthless but completely silent decision. She did not hold a press conference to publicly criticize Meghan. She did not post a single line of correction on the Twitter social network. She used the most terrifying weapon of the upper class, exclusion in silence. Oprah ordered her entire media ecosystem and subsidiaries to immediately freeze all business contact with the Archwell Foundation. Book and documentary projects sitting on the discussion table between the two sides were shelved indefinitely. Meghan's name was completely crossed out from Harpo's relationship network. This decision changed the entire survival dynamic of the Sussexes in America. It sent an unspoken but extremely clear signal to all box office moguls and Silicon Valley executives. When the person with the most authority has recalled the life preserver, the exiled royal couple officially loses their final protective shield. What devastating domino collapse did Oprah's silence ignite in the film capital of the world? Oprah Winfrey's silence was not merely a personal decision behind closed doors at the Santa Barbara estate. In the harsh ecosystem of Hollywood, the media queen's attitude acts as a traffic light. When Oprah gives the green light with an interview, the entire A-list elite immediately lines up to send gifts, send congratulations, and scramble to take photos with the Sussex couple. But when Oprah suddenly flipped the switch and sank into silence, a covert signal was immediately transmitted across the Beverly Hills. The protective wall had been dismantled. The immunity order had expired. A series of the most powerful names in the entertainment industry began executing strategic backward steps to keep their distance from the toxicity spreading from the name Meghan Markle. The first person to activate this domino effect was George Clooney. Rewinding back to 2018, the actor and his lawyer wife Amal Clooney were seated in the most honorary positions in St. George's Chapel, even though prior to that they barely had any close relationship with the bride. By 2019, George Clooney had stood up as a media shield for Meghan. He publicly criticised the British press, comparing their hunting of Meghan to what had happened to Princess Diana. Clooney used the weight of a Hollywood superstar to vouch for the Duchess's innocence. The audience believed the Sussexes had built an unbreakable alliance with the American cinema upper class. But as soon as the cold signal from Oprah's side began to leak through private dinners of studio executives, George Clooney immediately pulled a U-turn. He did not issue any press releases to announce a severance of ties. The ultra-rich do not operate in such a loud manner. They cut off relations by appearing on the opposing side. Clooney unexpectedly attended a series of events hosted by King Charles's Prince's Trust. He happily stood in the same frame with core members of the British royal family, smiling and shaking hands with the monarch, whom, not long before, Meghan had indirectly accused of being the head of a suffocating institution. When paparazzi approached Clooney at a red carpet event and asked about the relationship status between him and the Sussexes, the actor only gave a wry smile, dodged the question by shifting to the weather, and walked quickly inside. This smooth, back-turning action by Clooney left the PR team at Meghan's Archewell Foundation completely stunned. They began realizing party invitation cards from heavyweight figures in Hollywood were gradually thinning out, and instead came an icy isolation right in the middle of the entertainment mecca they once thought they had conquered. As the wall of allies began to fracture, Meghan Markle desperately needed a media life preserver to regain control of the narrative. Customarily, this task would be assigned to Gayle King. Gayle is not merely a veteran anchor for the CBS network. She is the best friend, the right-hand woman, the one sharing every business decision with Oprah for 4 decades. In Hollywood, everyone implicitly understands a rule. Gayle King is Oprah's megaphone. Whatever Oprah finds inconvenient to say straight out, Gayle will bring it onto national television. After the shocking 2021 interview, it was Gayle King who sat on the morning news desk, publicly revealing that the reconciliation calls between Prince Harry and Prince William were unfruitful. She had been the one directly holding the megaphone to protect Meghan against the spearheads of public opinion. But by mid-2023, Meghan's commercial empire faced an earthquake. The giant streaming platform Spotify suddenly announced it was severing the $20 million podcasting contract. Worse, a senior Spotify executive publicly called the couple fucking grifters. Dozens of articles dissecting the lazy and unprofessional work attitude of the Archewell team flooded the front pages. In a panic, Meghan's crisis management team tried to contact the CBS network. They needed Gayle King to repeat the old script. They needed her to go on air, say a few words of defense, or at least invite Meghan for an exclusive 15-minute interview to clear her name and reverse the situation. Gayle King speaking out would be a signal showing Oprah's faction was still standing behind backing the Sussexes. But answering that cry for help was a deathly silence. Gayle King completely ignored all of Meghan's scandals. On the CBS Mornings broadcast, she discussed political issues, interviewed actors promoting new movies, and even reported in detail on Prince William's activities in Britain. But she absolutely did not mention the name Meghan Markle or the keyword Spotify even once. While attending a gala in New York, a paparazzi reporter stopped Gayle King and asked directly about Meghan getting her contract cancelled. Gayle did not stop walking. She maintained a professional, diplomatic smile, looked straight into the lens, and said she had no comment on other people's business. This ruthless refusal was a slap in the face from Oprah's faction. It proved the media queen had officially ordered all doors providing access to television airwaves to be locked tight. Gayle King not only stopped speaking on Meghan's behalf, she was using silence to nail shut the media coffin of the Duchess of Sussex. The media doors closing is only the tip of the iceberg. The real battle, leading to the annihilation of Meghan's credibility, took place in glass meeting rooms at entertainment conglomerates. The fact that Meghan stealthily took projects to pitch to multiple partners simultaneously behind Oprah's back was no longer a closely held secret. It had leaked and become a topic of gossip during working lunches at the Soho House area. Executives began sharing information with each other. They realized a toxic behavioral pattern. Meghan demanded the massive remunerations of an A-list superstar, yet continuously broke the rules of confidentiality and the minimum loyalty of the industry. In Hollywood, you can fail in terms of box office revenue, but if you lose trustworthiness in unspoken agreements, you will be wiped out. Credibility is the only currency keeping the billion-dollar production machines running. Information about the Sussexes' true work capacity was compiled and placed on Oprah Winfrey's desk. Harpo Productions' data analytics team produced ruthless brand metric charts. Continuing to attach Oprah's name next to Meghan Markle no longer brought a media explosion. On the contrary, it was creating a drag. The audience began questioning Oprah's ability to judge people when she had already vouched for an individual continuously entangled in scandals of deceiving partners and inflating the truth. For Oprah, reputation is an inviolable fortress. She spent half a century building the image of a strong woman seeking the truth, and she would never let a former television actress use her as a scapegoat to clean up business ruins. The moment Oprah realized the core value of her billion-dollar brand was being corroded, she decided to strike. The purge took place without a sound. There were no arguing emails. There were no scolding phone calls. It was simply a complete disappearance. Oprah's assistants removed all links connected to the Archwell Foundation's charity campaigns. Meghan's name was crossed off all internal guest lists. When the WME talent agency tried to broker new projects for Meghan, they continuously met with shaking heads of refusal from studios affiliated with Oprah's network. The supreme power of the media queen manifested in the fact that she did not need to badmouth Meghan to eliminate her. She only needed to withdraw her attention. Oprah's silence sucked dry the last bit of oxygen in the survival ecosystem of the Sussexes, pushing them into a space completely isolated from the true upper class. No one left to protect. No one left to listen. Only a terrifying emptiness remained, surrounding the expensive mansion in Montecito. When every protective shield from American media billionaires has completely shattered, what grim reality is Meghan Markle truly having to face behind her fortified security fences? Currently, the multi-million-dollar mansion in Montecito is no longer a power launchpad or a center attracting the attention of the upper class like the point in time in 2021. It has truly become a lavish oasis, but completely isolated from the real power centers of Hollywood. Meghan Markle's once long list of A-list friends now only has a few fading names left, while the most influential figures have learned how to ignore her existence. In stark contrast to that situation, Oprah Winfrey still stands firmly on the throne of the uncrowned media queen of America. She continues to conduct insightful interviews with politicians and true stars, but her contact network has completely severed every connecting string with the Sussexes, as if the shocking interview of yesteryear had never existed in the history of Harpo Productions. The biggest question remaining open is not whether Meghan Markle can return to the peak of fame, but about the next move of Oprah Winfrey herself. Public opinion and media critics in America are holding their breath, waiting to see if, in the future, when the Sussexes' business empire completely collapses, Oprah will conduct a final exposé interview to fully reclaim her journalistic honor, or not. Or conversely, will she choose a far more terrifying punishment for an attention-craving person like Meghan, which is using absolute silence and oblivion to serve as the final sentence, permanently erasing Meghan Markle's name from the Hollywood Power Handbook? This entire crisis provides viewers with a deeply thought-provoking perspective on the ruthless and square nature of true power at the upper echelons of American society. It exposes a grim reality that friendship at this level only exists based on value exchange and absolute trust. You can survive and succeed in Hollywood if you have wealth and fame, but you will be ruthlessly eliminated by the system if you lose your honesty. This is an expensive lesson about how lies can buy temporary attention, but integrity and trust are the only assets that no amount of money or royal titles can buy to maintain a sustainable status.